episode of Seeing Sentai. I'm Mars Girl. Today we're still looking at Denshi Sentai Denjiman, and we're looking at episodes 22 through 28. There has been a little bit of development over these last 7 episodes. Realize somewhere in the middle of all of these episodes, in this hunk of this vlog, there was the movie adaptation, the Denjiman movie, which happened in between episodes 24 and 25. So actually I have not seen that movie. I did go out, search for the trailer, look for a bit of a synopsis. But the TV series actually does start to reference, by episode 25, things that happened in the Denjiman movie, which in places can be a little bit confusing. But we're starting to see some kind of progress, some sort of character development, and in fact, Yellow finally gets an episode of his own! But before I get too far into that, let me go ahead and list off some names of some monsters that we saw this week. We're looking at monsters such as Millar, Keilar, Hamigakilar, Medamalar, Rekolar, Keilar, and Nazolar. The episode with Millar, of which, by the way, time is a time-traveling sort of a monster. Oh boy, time travel. What can I say about time travel? I severely dislike time travel in a lot of areas. And actually, if I may say so, the time travel in this episode itself wasn't so bad. It's what they did with time travel. To kind of elaborate upon that, they initially send Green into the past 4 years, so then he's like back in time, he's still a cop, his dad's still alive, and he thinks, oh, I'm still doing cop things, and then they bring him back to the present time, 4 years after they sent him back, and he's got some sort of like amnesia going on, like he doesn't remember the past 4 years, he still thinks he's 4 years into the past. And actually, that's kind of cruel and twisted, because then he relearns that his dad is dead, and that's just so mean. To have to put a person through mourning the loss of somebody they love all over again. That's a horrible thing to do. So in that sense, like, that was some amazing writing right there. But then he's like, nah, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make them send me into the future so that I can figure out what it is that they're doing. So he does that. He makes the monster, the time monster, send him into the future, where apparently they've sent all the people into the past really far, so that they kind of act like cavemen, then bring them back to the present, so that they don't remember anything, and they just act like cavemen all the time, and they're really easy to dominate. So, like, the stupidest part, though, like, that's already kind of dumb, but the stupidest part is that, like, they could have just left Green in the future, and then there wouldn't have been a Green. Maybe not for, I don't know, several years. I don't even know how far into the future he goes, but they could have left him there, and then there would have only been 4 members of Denjiman to defeat, and they would have made it a lot easier on them. But they didn't. They're like, nah, bring him back, and when they bring him back, they're like, now you've seen my secret! Maybe you should have left him there, and he wouldn't have been back to tell what the plan was that you guys were gonna do. Screw it. Time travel, people making stupid decisions, I hate it. The episode was hilarious, but I hate playing with time travel. There are a whole bunch of episodes where the main focus is on Blue or on Green, and it's like, yeah, I know that Blue, like, that actor was like the best actor you had at the time, and he really is friggin' awesome, and he's just got the best facial expressions, and he does all kinds of cool stunts and stuff, but it's like, really, I really want to see an episode where Yellow gets a chance to shine. And then they finally do it! Medamalar, with the word Medama being like eyeball, is a monster that is able to kind of take the form of some other person, and he's kind of like a ghostly figure, and he enters somebody's body and kind of controls them from the inside. So you'll see the body of the actual human being, but it's being controlled by a monster. So this is the case with this girl who may or may not actually be crushing on Yellow. And Yellow is this scientific nerdy dude who's like, what? She likes me? What do I do? What do I do? And he's freaking out and stuff. And the girl is really calm and she's really quiet. And but then Keilar and Millar, you know, the two side ladies working for the Vader clan, are kind of like tricking her into believing that they can tell the future, that they're fortune tellers. So she goes and she looks into a mirror based on the suggestion of this fortune teller, and that allows Millar to enter her body. And now the girl is acting way overly flirtatious, and Yellow's like, no, it's not you, I know she doesn't act like this, it's not you, and pushes her to the ground and stuff. So he has to figure out how to save her once he starts realizing, oh, there's a monster inside of her body, we gotta save her, and he ends up making her cry, you know, not meanly, like she's passed out, and she hears his voice, and she starts to cry, and that actually gets the monster out through her tears, and so that's how they end up rescuing her. But it was kind of sad, because by the end of the episode, you think, oh, well, now maybe the two of them have a chance to be together, but they kind of don't. They don't end up being together at all. It's really kind of... Come on, give him something! Just give him something to work with. I would like it if we go back and we see her at some point in the future, but I kind of get this sinking suspicion that we're never going to see her ever again. It's kind of sad. So in episode 26, you have the monster Keilar, and kind of like record recording. This episode heavily references events that happen in the movie, and they reference this Princess Denshi, who apparently has come to Earth 3,000 years ago. At some point in the movie, there's some sort of anglerfish monster. We don't really talk about that anglerfish monster at all in the TV series. However, this episode references her like she left some 3,000-year-old ancient record inside of old human ruins. Like, it's this weird, clear, crystallized kind of record disc, and somehow some other guy finds the music and he's like, oh man, this sounds really awesome. I'm gonna turn it into a pop song, and I'm gonna be a pop star. And yeah, his music is just like off the charts record sales. And so it's referencing this really old Planet Denji song. And the members of Denjiman are like really sad listening to it. But it also really pisses off Queen Hedrion, who, you know, runs the Vader clan. So she sends out the monster Keilar to start destroying all of these records in any way imaginable, and they have to lure him out using the old classic 3,000-year-old record, because he then wants to come and destroy it, and then instead they destroy him. It's kind of a shallow episode, but it does reference stuff that happens in the movie, which I did find interesting. What is possibly the funniest episode was episode 27 with Keilar. The word ki means tree in Japanese, and so sure enough, the monster is kind of a log or like a tree stump, and inside that tree stump, the Vader clan has started putting in these big rhinoceros beetles that are kind of painted red. But they're not just rhinoceros beetles, they're also exploding bombs. You know, you throw them like they're friggin' grenades and they land and they go... It's really freaking awesome, but these kids get their hands on them, and they start distributing them to their other kid friends, selling them to their friends, and then finally the kids go up to the log trying to get more out of it, and they can't get anything else out of it, like the tree ran out of beetles, and so the kids are like, "Aw, man, this sucks," and they kick the log, and then the log turns into the monster, and the kids are running away. There's a monster, help us, and then the monster somehow whips out 2 skateboards from where, I don't know, has his grunts tie the kids to the skateboards, then shoves these beetle bombs down their shirts, and then pushes the kids on the skateboards down a hill, and they're going, help us, and they're rolling down the hill, and then the Denjiman have to jump in, like, and then they save them rolling around with these kids still tied to their skateboards. Oh my god, the most ridiculous scene ever. It's amazing. That's why, even if the series doesn't progress very far, I still think it's just amazing, because some of the most ludicrous, stupid stuff happens in this series. And then episode 28 has Nozolar. It's yet another monster based on riddles, as if this franchise doesn't have a boner about riddles enough as it is. And then, really, Nozolar isn't even the main focus of the episode. Instead, it's this guy named Derringer, who Interpol is telling the Denjiman about. Like, this guy's bad business, don't screw around with him, because he's got, like, some sort of Nosferatu thing going on with him. Like, he turns himself into a vampire and he can do voodoo magic, and so he starts like attacking the Denjiman, but he can't bring himself to attack Denji Pink because he thinks that she's beautiful, and so the Vader clan can't figure out why it is that he won't kill off Denji Pink, but it's the general who's like, well, he's a human, he does still have a human heart, so they have to kill the guy anyway. So so much for the vampire guy. That's about it. I'm hoping to drill through another 7 episodes very, very quickly. I hope you guys will stick with me through that. Thanks again to the Patreon contributors, as always, over on patreon.com/MarsGirl. You make this and all my other shows possible. I am fully open for Patreon request reviews. There's no waiting in line for Patreon request reviews right now. So if you would like to have one, please again check out patreon.com/MarsGirl, and I can help set you up with a review of your choice. Also, check out marsgirl.tumblr.com, where I'm doing write-ups on all of these episodes of Sentai that I've been watching this whole time. Thanks very much, you guys. As always, I'll be seeing you next time.